Hi class, for this set of problems we're going to be looking at a couple of applications, and then one aspect of the applications that they're asking is for us to express the final answer in some sort of a sentence, and then also to include units. Okay, so take a look at the first problem, and we're told that in this case Matt, it's going to be doing a marathon, and this is technically a 20-mile run during his training, but he only completed 3/4 of the run. So the main question that they're asking is, how far did he go? So let me write it as, in this case, the actual distance. And then he's supposed to complete 20 miles, but he only completed 3/4 of it. So in this case, it's going to be a multiplication of 3/4. And let me actually reduce the 20. Not reduce, express it as a common factor. So in this case, the 20 will be a 5 times 4 and then a 3/4. And then the main idea here was to express the 20 as 5 times 4 and then carry out the cancellation. So for this particular one, we're looking at a final answer of 5 times 3 or 15. Now, our main answer, I'm just going to express it as a sentence. So he completed 15 miles. And that's it. Let's take a look at the second problem. And in this case, they're talking about a recipe. So take a second and read it. And in this situation, they're giving us the recipe, but they're asking us, well, how much would it be needed? But you're only using half of the recipe. So for the potatoes, well, technically you have 3, but we're going to do that in half. So in this case, it'll be more proper if we say 1.5 for the potatoes. The salsa, well, they're using 1/2. So in this case, 1/2 divided by 2. It's going to be 1/2 divided by 2/1, or 1/2 times 1/2, or in this case, 1/4. So I'll write it in a sentence in a minute. Let me just box in our answers. The last one's going to be 2 pounds of the meat. So in this case, 2 divided by 2, or 1. And then let me just rewrite it as we will need 1.5, and in this case of potatoes. Then 1/4, in this case, well, cups of salsa. And then the last one would be 1 pound of ground beef. And that's pretty much it. So this particular one, it's only asking, well, if you have a recipe and you were to technically make half of it, so every ingredient gets divided by 2. Let me just take a look, but we're good on this one. Let's take a look at the next problem. And in this situation, they're talking about 12 quarts, and they make the actual height of 3/4 of an inch. So in this case, well, we're just gonna have the distance of 3/4. So in this case, it'll be 3/4, and we're going to be dividing that by the 12 cards, or 3/4 divided by 12 over 1, or 3/4 times 1 over 12. And let me reduce or cancel common factors. So 3/4 times 1 over 4 times 3. And then the 3's cancels here. So in this case, 1 over 4 times 4, or 1 over 16. So the actual, well, in this case, they're asking for how thick is each card. So let me just rewrite it as each card is 1/16. And in this case, well, they're using inches. And that's it. Let's take a look at problem D. And then because you have a rectangle, let me just write the formula. The actual area for a rectangle, so in this case, area is equal to length times width. Now you can just label this as your length and this as your width. So in this case, your actual area, it's going to be, well, technically 1/2 an inch, and then this is 2/3. So 2/3 of an inch. So we're just going to multiply 1/2 times 2/3. And then for the measurement of the area, technically the multiplication of inches and inches, it's going to give us, well, in this case, inches to the second. So before we multiply, let me cancel common factors. So in this case, we're going to end up with 1/3 of an inch squared. So let me just rewrite it as the area of the rectangle is, and let me just write it as A is equal to 1/3 of an inch, but we're talking about inches squares. So 1/3 inches squared. That's actually it for this one. And remember that all of your answers need to be expressed with a sentence and then also with the proper units. Let's take a look at the last one, and they want the actual volume. Let me write the formula for the volume. So the volume is going to be, well, technically the area of the base, which is length times width, times technically the height. So I'm just going to say that that's H, this is the width, and this is L. And in this case, V is equal to, let me just rewrite it as L times W times H, or the volume is equal to, in this case, we have the values of 12. The width, this is 1/4, and then 4/5. Also, all measurements are given in centimeters, so technically you're multiplying centimeters 3 times, so we're going to end up with centimeters to the 3rd power. And then let's start multiplying and canceling common factors. So for this particular one, V is equal to the values of 12/5, or in this case, well, technically 2 and 2/5. That's another way of viewing it, and it'll be centimeters to the 3rd power. And then let me just rewrite it as the volume is V is equal to, and I'll just rewrite it as 12/5 centimeters to the 3rd power, or in case they're asking for a mixed number. So this is 2 2/5 centimeters to the third. And I just wrote this one both ways because it may be easier to visualize the distance of, or the measurement of 2 2/5 as opposed to 12/5. So let me fix this 5. Okay, so that's actually our answer for this one. And that concludes the applications that appear on this particular module.